this is going to sound crazy. I think I'd rather have Christian Pulisic over Luis Diaz and over a Darwin Nunez right now on current form. That could be insane.
I mean, I probably would take him over Diaz on current form. I don't know about Nunez, but they're not the same kind of player.
No, of course. But I'm just saying, like, thinking through the tournament, attacking-wise, like, you have Vinny and Rodrigo, and after that, I think I'm taking Christian Pulisic.
There's not a lot of great wingers in this. I mean, it's not a lot of great players.
No, forwards. Any of the forward players.
Messi?
Fuck, I forgot about Argentina. Holy shit. Welcome back to Yanks Abroad. We are doing a full recap of the 2-0 victory. Good to get 3 points, but not the greatest performance. We're going to break it all down with our 3 biggest takeaways from the win over Bolivia, match day 1 of Copa America. If you want to see our player ratings, follow our TikTok and our Instagram. We have all that there on our socials. But takeaway number 1 from me is Christian Pulisic is in the form that could carry us into a deep run into this tournament. I've never felt this way before with Pulisic. I always thought he was a great player and a good 2 or 3 to have with support from a number 1. I think he can actually be the number 1. The confidence he's playing with, the way he's able to skip around players, and most of all, the finishing product, the final product that he has right now in his game is out of control, and we're seeing it in every which way. The free kick against Brazil, that finish against Bolivia, it's coming in all sorts of ways, and that is the key. Someone you can count on to dig you out of a hole. I mean, not that we were in a hole, but to get that goal, not make this a nervy performance, which we had talked about could have been.
Easily.
We never know with us. He scores in the 3rd minute. We actually don't look great after the fact, but it's better than us going into the half where we had a couple chances, didn't find the goal because Balogun didn't finish, and we didn't make the right play in the final third, and it's 0-0 at half, and all of a sudden we're sweating a Bolivia versus U.S. men's national team match. No sweat here. I mean, no sweat.
No sweat, but
Bolivia is awful, but I just think Pulisic can carry us a deep run into this tournament, which I've never had the confidence to say that before, and I couldn't be more relieved. I was not worried that he did in a friendly. Ideally, they probably care more this match against Brazil than this match, regardless, major tournament, friendly, not. But he's done it in both. He's ready to lead this team, and I couldn't be happier.
For sure. I mean, he grabbed that match by the balls immediately. I mean, even just taking that shot in that position. I think a lot of times in the beginnings of matches, players should want to shoot more often. The goalie is fresh. He's maybe not even had a touch yet. Like, that goalie just wasn't off of his line quick enough. Nobody was off the line quick enough. Like, he saw an opportunity. Clearly, as you know, we saw they said he pointed to the set piece coach after. Like, that is something they've worked on in training. They went to it early in the match. They got their best player the ball in the most dangerous areas of the pitch. It paid off. Pulisic, as you mentioned, time and time again, took that right back and just left him in his dust. And then, which you didn't touch on the assist, pops up into a midfield space, receives the ball on the turn, completely just drives at defenders. He gets 2 guys around him, finds his striker out in some space who scores the goal. A goal and an assist in the first half alone for Pulisic. For a match in which I didn't think many players played very well, he was the one person who really did everything he could. He was constantly working off the ball. He was constantly getting himself into different areas. He moved out into the right a couple of times just to get on the ball, especially in that first half when it was still 1-0. We needed another goal. We needed to make it feel comfortable so we didn't have to sweat it out. And he was the player who did that. And yeah, I mean, we had Dempsey and Donovan for a while, obviously, but no one ever really did what he does for the U.S. Where
he's a different echelon. I think
100%.
I think you made 2 great points. One being, we were clowning this goalie. We were like, he's awful. But you're right. Shooting early, he kind of grew into the game. Second half was actually a quality goalie.
Yep.
And then the other point you make is he took it upon himself to pick up that ball. He gets the assist. I feel like during his Chelsea days, where he didn't have a ton of confidence, he would get on the ball not when it was convenient, but he would stay out kind of on that left side, come inside a little and pick up the ball at times. But now he's going wherever he needs to be to pick up the ball. He's demanding the ball. He really wants the ball. And I think for the U.S., he does that. He's done that pretty consistently. But I think right now, he thinks anytime he touches the ball, he's going to make something amazing happen. Even when he was isolated out on that left side, I think it was in the second half, took on about 5 Bolivian players and made a chance essentially out of nothing. And his shots are always on target. He's super clinical right now. And like, there's not many players outside of Vinny. Like, this is going to sound crazy. I think I'd rather have Christian Pulisic over a Luis Diaz, and over a Darwin Nunez. Right now on current form. That could be insane.
I mean, I probably would take him over Diaz on current form. I don't know about Nunez, but they're not the same kind of player.
No, of course. But I'm just saying, like, thinking through the tournament, attacking-wise, like, you have Vinny and Rodrigo, and after that, I think I'm taking Christian Pulisic.
There's not a lot of great wingers in this. I mean, it's not a lot of great players.
No, forwards. Any of the forward players.
Messi?
Fuck, I forgot about Argentina. Holy shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players.
Yeah, I'd rather have Lautaro. Completely forgot about Argentina. Good point. On our side of the bracket, I've like completely forgotten about that other half. Just cause
gotcha.
It's but yeah, good point. Messi.
No, but I mean, to get back more to the Pulisic conversation, yeah, like especially with the way Tim Weah is playing, the fact that Tim Weah can really hold the width on the right side of that pitch. The fact that Antony, even though we didn't have his best game, still getting up that left side, putting 2 really good crosses. He could have had 2 assists.
Second half, he was great.
Like, the fact that he has those players who can hold the width, he doesn't have to hold the width anymore. He can be the player who can grab the game, by the balls, to use the same phrase again. And also, even the fact that, Balogun and Pepe, there were plenty of things they could have done better today, but they're competent strikers. They can play the ball at their feet. They can run at defenders. They make good runs. It allows Pulisic to be that number 10, for lack of a better term. Like, he is really playing almost as a 10, where he's just getting in the most creative spaces. He's the one who's creating the impetus. Gio Reyna, as we mentioned, was playing very deep in a lot of this match. And part of that's because Pulisic is taking up those areas, and he's the one who's getting on the ball in those areas, and he's the one who's making things happen when... for a while, I thought Gio Reyna was going to be that player. I thought Gio Reyna was going to be the guy who kind of floated from the left to right as one of the attacking, 3, let's call it. But that's really Pulisic. And Gio Reyna did a lot of other things really well today. He was really, really good defensively. He won a lot of duels. He was really good playing balls and over the top.
Balls, yep.
The ball he played to Weah in the first half, I want to say about the 30th minute, whatever, that completely changed the match for the United States. They were in a bit of a 15-minute spell there where they could get nothing going. He played a ball out to Weah, who controlled it excellently, and then the next 15 minutes, we were just dominant. We got our hands on the ball. We got our hands in the midfield. We started getting the ball forward without just hoofing it up, and I think a lot of that just has to do with Pulisic just taking the game by storm and being the best player on the pitch, which he was, and he showed that. And that's important, like, especially in a match against Bolivia, right? Like, Pulisic is the best player on the pitch by a mile. He needs to show that. Like, he can't just hide.
Because there's times previously in the CONCACAF where we're playing a Jamaica, a Panama, and he doesn't make it extremely evident 100%. He's the best player, and he is doing that right now, which is extremely exciting to see. Takeaway number 2?
Takeaway number 2, and I touched on it a little bit, is what was the midfield doing? What the United States midfield in this match, and especially in minute 6 to 30, was just so confusing. You had Weston McKennie playing almost as a second striker off of the back of Balogun.
Match.
Adams and Reyna were so far apart, there wasn't a pass that could be played between them. And then you're basically having your center backs pass back and forth until they go out wide, and then they're just hoofing it long. Yep. There was no cohesion. The United States midfield is probably our strongest of any of the 3 sections.
Combo, yes.
Combination-wise, our strongest. We played the midfield that we liked, and it took until they realized that they could play these passes into the center that we ever actually got a stronghold on this game. If Pulisic didn't score in the second minute, that first 30 minutes would have been incredibly nervy.
Shaky, yep.
Nothing was going on. Finally, they figured out how to get the ball into the middle of the park, even when it was Pulisic who most often was picking the ball up there. But that midfield needs to be better. And honestly, what I saw from Johnny Cardoso in the second half of that match, I would like to see him play a little bit more moving forward. I thought he was great. He showed to the ball. We need, as great as Adams is, and he's a huge disruptor, and obviously I think that's going to be incredibly important against a side like Uruguay, having a midfielder who's willing to show to the ball will allow us to progress play much more comfortably. And I'm of the school of thought that Pep always says that your best defense is holding the ball and possessing the ball. And against a team like Bolivia, and I think Panama is this way as well, I think that's going to be really important, and we just didn't do that well enough tonight in a long portion of that match at all. Even in times that we did, that is really when we've been our best in the last few years. It's been because our midfield has been dominant, and we just didn't show that today.
I agree, and I think we're both genuinely asking in the comments if any of you know what the strategy was, because we tried to figure it out for 90 minutes. We think Tyler Adams may have been man marking their number 10, and when he dropped deep, it forced Reyna to drop deeper in order to fill that space defensively.
Right, he was chasing him out, and then Reyna was filling.
It looked like Weston McKennie was playing almost center forward. It looked like Gio Reyna was playing a pretty traditional 8, where he was box to box, and then Tyler Adams, I don't really know, because he tracked so high up the pitch that he wasn't there to then possess the ball, and that's why the midfield wasn't passing out from the back. It was extremely confusing. So if anyone knows what our tactical setup was, and I think a lot of that has to go to Berhalter.
100%. Well, I mean, you were just saying it, and I wasn't even thinking about it. We talked a little about what we're going to talk about, but how many touches did Gio Reyna have in the final third today? 3? I can't even think of one.
So deep, and then to that point, he had to drop so deep, and then we played so, especially in the first half, transitionally. We talked about this. Every time we got the ball, it was like, let's go, 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 go.
Even when we had no numbers, no opportunity, nothing.
Which, in theory, if Gio was dropping so deep, it didn't even give him an opportunity to get up in support of the play. And so the whole thing was just a little, like, the best thing to find from your match number 1 in a group stage is to find answers. And I feel like I left here with way more questions than answers. This will go to my third takeaway, but the only answers I found were, number 1, Pulisic is going to carry us.
Correct.
As far as we go. And 2, Balogun should be the starting striker. I know you may not agree with that, but those are the only 2 answers I found. Our biggest question mark is, you talk about Cardoso, Musa, those pretty much 5, and then 3 who started. What's our best midfield? I feel like that's question number 1 for this U.S. men's national team. And I was pretty sure coming into this match that this was the best 3.
Me too.
And I'm leaving with way more questions about
100%.
this midfield than I came in with. And that is very disconcerting. I think that's the word. Did I make that up?
I don't know.
It might be.
I think it's just concerning.
Yeah, I don't know why I did that. Anyways,
no,
it's hot in here. Now I'm like, I have no, and in theory, against the Bolivia side, they should have looked as sure-handed as any match, and it looked completely disjointed. And it makes me think, you take a step up against Panama, are you going to play the same 3? And then if they don't look good again,
what do you do
for Uruguay? You know, like, I wish we would have found a comfortable midfield performance this match, and we just didn't get that.
For sure. We were saying at halftime, like, obviously we're up 2-0.
Yeah.
This game's probably killed.
Yep.
What we need to see in the second half is, okay, how is this midfield going to figure out how to play better together? Obviously, Adams comes off at halftime. We're not sure if it was a knock or we think they were just resting his leg because he's had not a very full season due to injury. But yeah, what happens next? How do we get Gio Reyna in better positions? How do we get Weston McKennie more involved in build-up? If Weston McKinney's playing if someone is going to play that far up in midfield, shouldn't it be Gio Reyna? Yeah. Like, what is the plan here? And then you saw Yunus Musa in that second half, and he did so many great things.
He comes on as a 6, but he's not the 6.
Right, so it's like Yunus Musa probably needs to play as the 8 sitting next to Adams. I just don't know, like, how to fit all these players in. We've had this conversation so many times, but, like, the midfield we watched tonight was not good enough.
No.
So
by
I don't think that's my starting midfield against Panama. I think I'm trying something else out.
Based off of where Weston played, for me, it's a no-brainer that it becomes Adam, Musa, Weston. But I don't think Weston's best position up that close to the front 3. So then it makes me think that it's got to be Adams, Musa, and Reyna. But it's like,
and then maybe Weston a right back?
Maybe. But at times, I felt like Weston consistently is our best midfielder. It's
Today was a very surprising Weston McKennie performance. He did very little, which is pretty much never his MO.
No.
Club or country.
Yeah.
Weston McKennie's hardworking on and off the ball. He's a dual winner. He's a driving force. He makes a lot happen. He's an excellent passer, an excellent distributor. And, like, whatever the tactics were today took him out of that role, and he never really was able to recover that at any point. He had a couple of good little runs. That little run that led to the offside goal that didn't count was really good. That's what we love to see from Weston McKennie. Yep. But he never received the ball to feet, really, and any chance to do anything great.
That's where he was his best, when he picked up kind of it wasn't a late run, but, like, he found himself so many times either side to goal or back to goal because he was so forward. But when he drives, picks up the ball, and then he can make that little incisive pass to Weah. I think that's when he's best. So I don't know why he was playing so far
Even
up.
The fact that, like, we spent a lot of time crossing the ball in tonight. Obviously, that's a plan. You get Anthony Robinson on an overlap, and he gets a first-time crossing. You have Weston McKennie already standing in the box when that cross is coming in. Like, he's not just going to be whipping his head around and scoring. He needs to be late runs on the second balls coming in and finishing goals. That's what he did great at Juventus this year.
He does that so well for Juve, that late run, and scores headed goals when it's a little clipped cross rather than, like, an aggressive whip. And so, like, for countless reasons, I was so confused by his positioning. But I'd imagine that's a Berhalter thing.
I mean, it has to be. That's never really how he's played.
Take up that position,
no,
especially with a Reyna on the pitch. If Musa was on the pitch and he was in theory the furthest forward, that would have made more sense to me. But that had to have been a tactical thing with Reyna on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so tough because like Reyna's done nothing wrong, so you can't really take him out for
right.
You know, he was great defensively. He's worked really hard defensively in the Brazil game and in this match, but. What is the best midfield three for this side? I don't know the answer to that. I thought this was it. We've said that a couple of times. I think McKennie is more irreplaceable than Reyna.
Right.
Especially if Reyna's not picking up the ball in the best areas for him. I think you can play without him.
It wasn't his fault that he wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I wouldn't be shocked if Gio Reyna doesn't start against Panama. I think he doesn't change the lineup. That's going to be my guess. I think you win a match.
Continuity.
Yeah. You probably get Adams plays 45, maybe 60 minutes because Adams definitely has to play against Uruguay, but they got to change up.
Do you bring in Johnny to replace Adams at the 6, or do you bring in Musa again at the 6, who we have touched on many times is not a true 6?
I don't know. I mean, I thought Musa did a lot of really good things on the ball, but it's still that awareness of space off the ball that costs him a lot of his playing time, at least, or his ability to play that position.
I'd imagine after the Panama match, we will have the answers going into the Uruguay match. But the answer may be changing things, and it's like after this midfield has played together twice, do you want to change things in your toughest match going into the third group game? So it's going to be interesting to watch how this midfield progresses because it's going to be extremely important to our 100%. Success.
And I don't think it has anything to do with who the striker is, but I know for the third takeaway you wanted to mention who you think will be starting striker moving forward. I don't know if that to you also. I'll pose the question like, does your starting striker affect who the midfield three are?
No, my starting striker does not affect who the midfield is. I think what we talked about on the live stream was the goal of today's match. Number 1 is get 3 points. Number 2, get Balogun a goal so he can gain some confidence. I think that goal is a confidence builder because it's really well taken.
Great goal.
It's not a tap in. It's not a rebound. Like I think that could give him the confidence. I mean, honestly, clearly he's not short on confidence if he's doing skip passes
and bounce passes.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely ridiculous from him. But I think like maybe he just tries that because he's against Bolivia and maybe puts his head down and just focuses on making good passes against the Panama and Uruguay. But I think Balogun absolutely has to start. I think, unfortunately, it is that black and white to me. Balogun scores, has confidence. Pepe misses multiple good chances. Could be thinking twice about not his positioning, but when the ball's like you have that half second, full second when that cross is coming in to think about in a split second what you're going to do, and he could be overthinking based off of his performance. I know you talked about he should get credit for being in those positions. I think, unfortunately, goal, no goal, you have to go forward with Balogun.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I was just in my head even before we were talking about this before. I was like, oh, I'm going to come to this prepared to say I think Balogun 100% should start Panama, but potentially some of the things Pepe offers with his back to goal would be good against Uruguay. But at the same time, like, Pepe's not scoring that goal Balogun scored, and if you want to, play against a team like Uruguay, you need someone who can kind of score from nothing. And that's what Balogun offers, and why we had to convince him to play for the United States is he offered something that no striker we've ever really had has offered, where he can, I mean, that was a very, very well-taken goal. He was driving onto his left side, moving away from goal, great finish, low and hard, spinning away from the keeper.
He closed his own angle down almost by going that wide.
I mean, that was just confidence. He knew he could finish from that shot. I mean, he did it time and time again in France, not this past year, but the year before. So, I mean, Balogun is a starting striker. I think, actually, Pepe is a great striker to come on in 60th minute. He can help you possess the ball. He makes those good late runs.
Do the other two not deserve a shout, though?
I think Haji...
They didn't get one in the friendlies.
I'm not a fan of Sargent. I know he had a great season, but he's shown to me everything he can do for this United States team.
But Haji?
I mean, I think if Tim Weah is having a bad game, you see Haji Ray come on the wing.
But why Aronson over Haji? Let's talk about
why
the subs.
Aronson at any point.
Let's move into the subs. No Malik Tillman, no Haji Wright. You get
Aronson, I never need to see again.
Ever.
Luca De La Torre, I think, is fine. I think he's a little slow in his decision-making. I don't think he provides a whole lot of...
But I don't think in another match you're ever going to see us change the midfield three.
That much.
In full.
Correct.
It'll never be a 3-for-3.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Unless one of those three doesn't start.
I think
you're probably never going to have none of those three on the pitch.
I think it's Malik Tillman. I don't know how off their seasons Malik Tillman and Haji Wright can't get a look in. Over Brendan Aronson, who was
see neither of them. Did we see Tillman at all in the...
No.
friendlies either.
And it's like, it's like we're treating Aronson like Balogun. Balogun had a bad season, but he
what he
still
offers.
needs to get the time.
Correct.
Brendan Aronson does not deserve playing time based off of his
He's
season.
been bad in club football for pretty much 2 years.
And he's never been super good for us.
His first little stint at Leeds, he was like,
wow, this guy.
Yeah, like, all right, we have an American in the Premier League who's actually making things happen. But pretty much since 2021, he's been bad.
And it's like Haji was so good, and Malik Tillman was probably even better.
Malik Tillman was incredible this year, and Malik Tillman was great last year. He was great at Rangers. Yeah. He's had 2 great club seasons in a row, a very young, talented. The profile of what his size and speed are is also just game-changing.
And his versatility, like, if you want to play him as winger, you can. If you want to come...
Also, by the way, if you want to play one of your midfielders sitting right behind the striker, you know who that is? Malik Tillman.
Not Weston McKennie.
Correct. Malik Tillman will happily pick up second balls and score goals and get on the end of crosses. Like, he's a very good attacker. Right. I'm shocked by the subs.
After this discussion, I'm thinking in my head we should do a tracker of how we feel about Berhalter. Coming in 1 through 10, how do you feel about Berhalter?
10 being I love?
Yeah.
2.
Okay, where's he at now?
1.5.
Okay, so we went
down.
I mean,
that was genuinely, number one, and we said this a lot in the live stream, and if you don't know, we're doing a live stream for every single U.S. men's national team match during Copa America.
All the way to the final.
No matter rain or shine. So make sure to put on notifications for our channel so you know when those are coming. The next one, obviously, will be Thursday against Panama. That's a 6 p.m. kick on the East Coast, 3 p.m. on the West Coast. I assume most of you here who would watch that are in America. But nonetheless, that was one of the most boring matches I've ever watched. And yes, it's the United States against Bolivia, whatever. It's not the greatest opponent. A great team goes out and puts on an absolute show that excites their fans that, look, we've come to play. We've come to this Copa America for the first time in a while to play and show that we are a soccer team that knows how to win. And yes, I call it soccer because that's what we call it here. But instead, they showed up and basically outside of scoring in the 3rd minute, and Balogun scoring in a 1v1, showed no excitement, no passion, no desire, no creativity, nothing. All the issues we've had with Berhalter since the beginning showed tonight against the worst opponent we've seen him play against in a serious competition. And that just shows me that he's not a serious manager.
I'm so... Question we'll never get the answer to, but I am so curious to how this match would have progressed if Pulisic did not score in the 3rd minute. Like, because it could have been so... He's going to get no hate because it was a very comfortable 100%. Win against a very poor side. But there is an alternate world where Pulisic doesn't score. That goes off the crossbar. We're in half, 0-0. And now we have a second half where we need to find a goal to get 3 points.
And it gets nervy. You even saw with Chris Richards, it had nothing to do with the scoreline, but he gave the ball away a couple times. Like, it gets nervy real fast. Matt Turner makes one mistake in trying to play the ball out from the back. Like, it can get nervy real fast when it's 0-0. And I mean, that's what's great about having a captain like Pulisic who came in and was like, I'm scoring right now and putting this game to rest 3 minutes in.
I wanted a ton of confidence going into the Panama match, and I don't have it.
No, I'm excited to watch this match tonight, Panama, Uruguay. Obviously, by the time people are watching this, they'll have seen it. But, I mean, I don't think Panama are a rollover like Bolivia. I think Panama... I think Panama are a side that could show
Bolivia
up.
I don't think people who fully understand our performance and who we just played and will see that, like, anyone gives this a 5 out of 10 or more on the performance scale has no clue what they just watched. I mean, that was atrocious.
That compared to how we played against Brazil a week ago, I mean, it's night and day.
It is nice to think about, like, we just had such a bad performance, but the U.S. men's national team finally have individual players who can dig us out.
Correct.
Like, we have 2 players who are actually class footballers who scored 2 brilliant goals, and despite of our awful performance, we still got a comfortable win.
That's the positive, 100%.
And that is the positive of we are transitioning as a nation to having that type of performance. But I think a lot of casual U.S. fans won't understand what just happened, to where it is nice that we have that luxury now, but that was a horrible performance.
Last Berhalter question.
Yes.
That was well said, by the way. We beat Bolivia like that.
Yep.
Let's say we beat Panama in kind of similar fashion, like kind of disgusting. Get crushed by Uruguay. Or even just lose to Uruguay and lose in the quarterfinal.
Gone.
Is he I know you want him gone. Is he actually gone?
No, we've talked about this. The only way he's gone is not getting out of the group or draw versus Panama, lose to Uruguay, still get out.
I mean, if the only win we have in this tournament is Bolivia, he has to be gone.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that, if he's not gone, I actually don't really like. I would be. I really wouldn't know what to say. That would be shocking. We
would have our first vlog on this channel showing up to HQ of the U.S. Soccer Federation protesting Berhalter. That's what you would get if our only win is against Bolivia. He absolutely needs to go.
Like immediately, the next
We
day.
need to be at the expectation to where we need to have 6 points minimum coming out of the group, have a competitive match against Uruguay trying to top so we avoid Brazil, and then be competitive against Brazil the way we were in the friendly. But there is a world where Brazil, it was a friendly, comes out and absolutely dominates us 3-0.
Listen, if we get crushed by Brazil and we put up a good performance against Uruguay, I understand if he doesn't get fired.
Sure.
But there has to be some progression. Like, we have to get a little bit better. I understand if we're not going to go beat Uruguay and beat Brazil, but we have to be getting better. Even under Pep at Manchester City, they're getting better and better and better. Like, they're not just flatlining. Like, that's what great managers do.
Yeah, we have to improve, and if this is the expectations that they're going to leave us with, if what comes true that we're talking about happens and he's still our coach, like, it's going to be so disheartening. There's going to be no anticipation for the World Cup because
100%.
There's just going to be nothing to watch.
100%.
And it's going to be sad, but
anyway,
we'll try and stay positive for the time
being.
Yeah, I
mean, 2-0 win for the U.S.
But that was a bad performance.
It was a bad
performance. Black and white, that was a bad performance. But in a tournament setup, 3 points. I mean, it's crazy. I feel like the discourse I have as like a pseudo England fan, I feel like we're having the exact same discourse.
For sure. I mean, I'm not a pseudo England fan at all, but
I am.
I understand.
Like Southgate and Berhalter, get them both out and let's watch two talented teams, different levels, actually play good football.
Would be great.
All right. Well, we will see you guys on Thursday. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And if you don't want to be here for the live stream, we will, of course, have these recaps after every match, regardless. And if you're a Euros fan, we have recaps of each match stage.
Correct. We'll be having one come out before the next U.S. match.
Yep.
So you'll see our Euro stuff next week as well. Make sure you're following us on TikTok and Instagram. There's some exclusive stuff there as well. That's more, live in the moment. But make sure to subscribe on YouTube, put those notifications on, and we will see you soon.
Peace.